Hello, 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 all the King's men. Welcome to another Friday assessment. Yes, yes, yes. It's time to assess. Yes. There's nothing like the Friday assessment. There is nothing like looking at what did I do this week? What did I accomplish this week? How can I be better? Remember, don't be afraid of the assessment. The assessment is all about being better. Look. Everybody should desire to be better. Look, when I say that, don't compete. Don't compete with no one else. Compete with the greater you. Compete with what you're capable of. Oh, yes. I said it. Compete with what you're capable of. You know why? Because you want to be better than you were on yesterday. Glory be to God. So look, all the King's men, this week we're going to talk about knowledge. It is so important to get knowledge. Look, and when we assess, that's what we want to look at. We want to look at the areas that we're successful in. Why were we successful? And then the areas that we were not successful in. Why weren't we successful in those areas? And then I am sure when you look at it, it's going to come down to knowledge. It's going to come down to the lack of knowledge because you didn't have knowledge in some areas of how to do some things, how to perfect some things. And the areas that you had successes in, it was because you probably had more knowledge or you perfected that knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is information. The word says, my people perish. They perish for a lack of what? Knowledge. So I got to get some knowledge. I got to be better. Why? Because if you want to succeed, if you want to have good success, you got to have some knowledge of what you got to do. Look at Joshua. God told Joshua to do what? Obey my commands. That means that Joshua had to listen. He had to get some knowledge of what was the commands of God. What was God telling him to do? He had to lead the people. He had to know how to lead the people so that he could be successful, so that he could experience the success that God was telling him that he could experience. So let's look at this knowledge. Knowledge is information. Knowledge is experience. You know, and then what happens when you get that knowledge? It leads to what? It leads to understanding. Because when you get those experiences, you gain more knowledge on a subject. Yes. So if you're not succeeding, then do you realize that you're gaining knowledge? Yes, you're gaining knowledge of what not to do. Now you're building yourself what? I guess you're building yourself a dictionary. You know all these situations. You're building upon your successes, so you're gaining knowledge. That's all successful people did. They gain knowledge. Now they know what to do and what not to do, and they know what works. So what they do, they continue to perfect what works. So that's what you got to do. Remember, don't compare to nobody else now. Don't compare, because we got to live inside out instead of outside in. When you live inside out, that's when you get the greatest satisfaction. Why? Because you're focusing on you instead of everything else that's outside of you. You're the only one that can affect change in your life. That's why you hear say we are our greatest enemy. Why? Because we're looking outside and fear comes in. Look, what I am starting to live by, what I learned. I was listening to this speaker. And he said, you know, we go and we read all these books. We read these many things. He said he don't go reading all these books. He said he read a page or a few pages. And if he finds something to tell you to do, he said, go do it. So look, that's what I learned. You gain all this knowledge. You think about it. When you're practicing for a game, you're correcting what? You're correcting some areas that you have not perfected. So what the coach do, they gain knowledge. It's like, oh, that's why we lost last week. Look, I like to work on cars. So when I'm putting stuff together, when I'm installing something or taking it apart, I'm like, something's not right. There has to be an easier way. You know why I ask that? Because I don't have all the knowledge. So what I do, I go seek out the knowledge. And once I realized that there was some knowledge that was missing, it made things a lot better, and I start to experience success. So that's why I said you got to get knowledge. And what you got to do, as all the king's men, who is our king? Our king is God. So we must know the commands of God in order to have good success. So what we got to do, that means that we got to go open the word, find out what God says about us, find about who God says I am, and then we got to live according to that knowledge that we have gained. And we start to build up on that why, because when we start following that, when we get that knowledge, and we can start to follow, because that knowledge is, you're going to get the knowledge of the commandments of God. What are God saying about your life? What is God saying about you? And when you get the knowledge, that knowledge is going to propel you, because your eyes are going to be open. That's why when advertising comes, business comes, they have figured out something that you don't know. They have some knowledge that you don't know. That's why you go to school. You go to school to learn. You get that knowledge so you can apply that knowledge. That's all I'm saying. Get you some knowledge so that you can apply it, so you can experience the successes that you desire. So look, but when you get this knowledge, I need you to get it, and I need you to stand on something. I need you to stand on something, and I need you to perfect it. What I'm perfecting right now is persistence, consistency, and it means that what I'm saying is that how do I put together a process? What process is allowing me to get success? So what I'm doing is I'm defining my process. So I am doing things over and over and over to see if they bring me success. And that's why it's so important for the assessment. Do things. If you're trying to get to a place, if you set your goal, you set where you're trying to go, and you're like, man, I am not getting there. You know what you need to do? You need to get you some knowledge. This is what I need you to, now, when I tell you to look outside in, I need you to study more. Study successful people. Don't say that I need to do this because this is their success, because all you're looking for is to get the knowledge of how they did it. What was their process? Yes, yours is going to be different. Yes, they're going to be put in different scenarios. But when you get the knowledge, you're looking for the tools. You're looking for the toolbox. It's so important to get a toolbox. That toolbox is something else. When you working on cars, that toolbox got all the tools that you need. You know what I find out sometimes about that toolbox? There's some special tools that you need for some applications. I was working on my wife's car one time, and I could not get this bolt loose. I could not get this nut loose for nothing in the world. And what I figured out, I looked in my bag, I looked over and over and over and over, and I did not have the proper tools. And you know why? Because I had never attacked that job before. So I didn't have the knowledge. So what I did, I went and seeked out the knowledge. And what I did when I seeked out the knowledge, I realized that I did not have the proper tools. That's what I'm saying about it. Don't try to do everything that they did. Use the basic, use the tools, use some of the things that they did. Say, okay, I need to add this to my toolbox. Yes, and then that's how you can get your understanding. That's how you're building up on that knowledge. That's how you get the information. That's how you get the experiences that lead to your greater understanding. Look. And then that leads to what? Wisdom. That leads to wisdom. So all the king men, all I'm encouraging you today is get you some knowledge. Find that one thing and stick to it. Get you some knowledge of where you're trying to go and build the toolbox. And it's so important that you assess. All the king's men, I pray that you have a successful assessment this week, and I pray that you have a blessed day and a blessed week to come. Be blessed.